Okay, well, hey, welcome, everybody. I know I've talked to a lot of you guys already today, but welcome to my panel. Thank you guys so much for coming. I assume everybody in here knows who I am?
Yes.
Okay, but if not, I'm PixelDan. I am the author of the Toys of He-Man and the Master of the Universe. I do a YouTube channel where I talk about toys and general geekery, and I'm a huge nerd. Like these things, yeah. Yeah, so today I wanted to kind of do a behind-the-scenes look at the making of this beast of a book. This is definitely a passion project of mine. It's something that I've always wanted to see done, and when the opportunity arose for me to do it, I jumped on it, even though I've never done anything like this before. So this entire thing was a huge learning experience for me. I've done some writing here and there. I've had the opportunity to write about my passions, nerd stuff for various websites over the years, and I did some stuff for StarWars.com for a while, which was really cool. But this is the first time I've ever done anything like at this scope, like full-on published book. Excuse me, can you hold the horn honky? Everything in this book is original for the book. All the photography, everything in here, we wanted to make sure it was all brand new stuff for the book. I didn't want to just go borrow pictures from places or look stuff up online. I wanted this to be like as complete as it possibly could. And at the time that we really started sitting down and developing this, it kind of looked like we were at the end of Masters toys. I mean, we were at the tail end of classics at the time. This book was about a 3-year process from start to finish. So while we were working on it, Super 7 was still kind of wrapping things up with classics. In fact, Snake Mountain hadn't even shipped yet when I had to finally turn the final draft in for this book, which was kind of freaking me out because I wanted Snake Mountain to be in the book. So thankfully, I got the guys at Super 7 to take a whole bunch of photos of the prototype for me. So the pictures of Snake Mountain in this book are actually the prototype because the playset had not shipped yet when I had to turn in the final draft of the book. But thankfully, it was the last thing we needed, and I thought it was going to be a complete book, and then Origins came out. So we can talk more about that later, because I'm sure that's going to be a question I get asked. So go ahead, we'll go to the next slide and kind of start by giving you some cute pictures of me showing. This has been my life, guys. I mean, I think a lot of us here have very similar childhoods, but I was born in the early 80s, right when He-Man was just coming out, but I was the perfect age for the big boom period of He-Man with Filmation and the aisles filled with toys. So it's my first thing I ever remember playing with is my He-Man and my Skeletor. The one picture there, it's kind of hard to see, but on my back, there's a yellow power sword sticking out of my shirt. My mom always tells the story still about how I used to run around the house with that sword in my shirt and would regularly pull it out, yell by the power of Grayskull, run down the hallway, fight somebody. But she always talks about how that sword was always in the back of my shirt. So, and then that picture of me playing with my figures in the yard is my favorite because, come on, we all did that, right? Just play with our figures in the dirt. It's just the best. All right, so doing this book, my favorite part of this, which was also one of the hardest, involved the most work, was the photography. Because we wanted to get original photos of everything, and that's a lot of stuff. And on some of this stuff, you're talking about toys that are 40 years old, and we wanted to get things that were open and complete, but also in package, because we needed package shots. And the only possible way to do this was to involve the collector community, was to find people who are willing to help us out. So we can kind of flip through some of these next slides just to show you some of the pictures, because what I was able to do was travel around to collectors' houses all around the country, and even up into Canada a little bit. We spent a whole year doing this, where we would just basically find somebody who's got a whole collection of 2000X figures who'd be willing to let us come to their house. Me and my partner Val Staples, who worked on this with me, that's my awesome picture, my She-Ra collection. I just thought it was so cool. But we would find people who were willing to let us set up a little photo station in their house, and we would spend the whole weekend photographing their toys, making a mess of their toy room. I mean, it was It was awesome, but it was always one of those things that always scared me a little bit. I didn't want to break anybody's stuff. I didn't want to mess up anybody's stuff. But it was an amazing experience because not only did I get to really see a lot of stuff that I've never even seen in person before, but like meeting all these collectors, seeing what they focused on, seeing how they displayed their collections, that was like the best part of this entire experience. I just thought it was so cool getting to know all these people, and there's just no way we could have done this without the collector community. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows, like, this is like, I'm the lead author on this book, but this is a book by the fans, for the fans, 100%. I could not have done this without everybody's help. And it was so cool because as we would go to one person's house, and then they would say, oh, you should talk to so-and-so and so-and-so, because they do this and they do that. And then we would reach out to them, and they'd recommend more people. And it was a snowball all the way through until we were able to get every single thing that we needed for this book. It was awesome. It was so cool. I was so happy and so proud of the community just to like have that kind of connection with everybody. Okay, we can go ahead and flip on through to the next. Okay, so I'm gonna show you a little video clip here because this is really fun. Some of you guys might have seen this on my channel already, but this is one of my favorite moments during the photography process. Now, unfortunately, I didn't film a lot. My plan was like I was gonna document this whole process and like shoot a bunch of footage, but it turns out that's a lot of work. When your focus is trying to get this photography done, you do not have time to also film things and everything. But this one weekend, I'm glad that I actually had a camera rolling, and it was actually because the guy who we were visiting had a camera rolling, and he gave me the footage. You guys might know him, he's also on YouTube. Justice Curry is his name, Justin. But we visited him one weekend to shoot a bunch of vintage stuff because he had some of the cool stuff like complete the Giants, Titus and Megator in the boxes and everything. He had a complete Eternia playset. So that was kind of our big gets at his house. So, to set this video up, his Eternia playset, he had a toy room, but in the toy room he also had like this walk-in closet, and it's like a skinny walk-in closet. At the back of the walk-in closet is where his Eternia playset is set up. And it was like covered in figures and stuff. So we're looking at it and we're like, okay, we're gonna get that out of there and over here onto this table. What's the best way to do that? And of course I'm like, well, we're gonna have to take the whole thing apart and just set it back up. But then there's always that, oh my gosh, is that gonna is something gonna break? Because Eternia is known to be kind of brittle, and we're really trying to figure it out. So Val, my partner on the book, says, you know what, it's no problem. I had an Eternia when I was a kid. I used to carry it around the house all the time. I'll just pick it up and carry the whole thing out of there. And I was like, wait, hold on. Like the monorail tracks are on it and everything. He's like, I can carry that out of the closet. And I was like, I'm not making this decision. This is totally Justin's, this is his thing. So Justin agrees to it. And I'm like, okay, well, we're definitely filming this because if something breaks, I'm gonna show the whole world. I'm gonna make sure everybody sees it. So that's the setup for the video. I'm gonna show you guys this little clip. We're gonna skip past me talking at the beginning because it's just me telling the same story. I just told you guys. Oh no!
Yeah, it doesn't seem to like it when it's in the slideshow. So
oh, okay, so we'll just do it. Yeah, we got it there. You guys can see that okay, right? If it's a little smaller. Okay. Are you nervous at all? This is your Eternia.
I'm sweating.
We have to move vintage Eternia out here to photograph it. I know, right? Like it kind of gives you butterflies.
Hey, I used to take this thing.
I am real good at this.
He told me, he said, I'll take it downstairs.
I did.
But, this project that we're involved with, all these pictures and photographs are going to live on longer than we will. So
Awesome.
It's just going to be part of the whole project.
Cool, man. I'm glad you feel that way. I'm excited.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Watch Justin's face as this is happening. He starts to second.
He literally needs all of it in one shot. I did not realize that.
Everybody back up. Everybody back up. Okay. Yeah, you got a guy yourself and that through the door. You okay? Yeah, somebody come over here.
oh my god.
He's got it. Oh yeah, there you go.
This is how you used to do it as a kid?
Yeah.
What were you guys? A Hulk?
Superhero.
That basement touch was not much fun. I can tell you that right now. So the reason I recommend One Piece is because almost I learned very quickly not to do that as an evil kid. But it's actually very, strict.
Look at this.
You did it.
If many of you have never seen this perfectly demonstrates the scale of this thing. I mean, this is insanity. Because these are three grown men standing next to this thing. Look at this. Yeah.
Okay, you can go ahead and cut it there. That's, oh my gosh. I love showing this clip at conventions because everybody's reactions are always exactly what you expect. It's my favorite thing. You all get to live what I was living that day. Like it was. Did anybody have Eternia as a kid? I'm curious. You did? Yeah? Did you carry it around the house? Yeah?
Not for long though.
Yeah.
When I became a state kid, I went up to my mom and I'm
Really?
acting like a puppet with this.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Does anybody have it now? Eternia now? You guys ever played with it? No? Yeah, like once we got it set up, it was awesome because it was so I have an Eternia at home, but mine is like, I bought it missing a bunch of pieces. It doesn't have the monorail or anything like that. So this was my first time really experiencing a complete one. Once we got it set up, we turned it on and we had the thing running and we were testing the action features, like the monorail will dump guys out of it into the pit and everything. It's so fun. It's so fun. It just sucks because it's very fragile, and those monorail tracks especially are made of like this brittle blue plastic that Mattel started using in like 87, 88. So like that stuff just shatters. You gotta be so careful with it. It's crazy. But that's one of my favorite memories, and I'm so glad that we actually have that so that I can share that with everybody. It was really, really fun. Okay, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. I believe this is where we're gonna start showing oh, there's me again. There we go. So some of you guys, how many of you in here have the book already? A couple of you guys have the book? Awesome. Do you like the book? Is it good?
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So, you guys have already seen these obviously, but I wanted to kind of, for anybody else who hasn't seen them, just show you guys some sample pages of the layout of the book and kind of talk about how we decided to do all of this. This was really tricky, and it was one of the challenging parts of this whole thing because I wanted everything to be clear so that you can see everything, but also we had to fit everything into this book, right? And we're talking everything from 82 through 2019, and it's already 750 pages, and that's like a high-end book. Like we were at the point where Dark Horse was like, it can't be much more than that because it starts pricing you out. Like it gets too expensive, and you want to keep it at a price point that people will also want to buy it. So we had to land on 1 page per figure and about 2 to 4 pages per playset, depending on how big they were. But we wanted to make sure we had proper turnarounds of everything. We wanted to make sure we get overhead shots of all the weapons, which, by the way, shooting accessories, my least favorite part of the entire process. We have to set the camera up overhead and just one accessory at a time. You put it on the camera, click, next accessory, click, and then that will take you all day if we're talking about like a whole line of figures that we're doing. But I really like the way that this turned out. I know that some of the feedback that I've received is that they wish that the pictures of like the carded stuff was bigger, and I agree. I wish we had more space to really show the carded stuff a little bit bigger and everything, but I'm still pretty happy with how everything turned out. But I learned a lot doing this, so that if I'm going forward with other things, I can kind of take this and I can adapt, and I can go with the critiques and everything. But I don't know, what do you guys think? I mean, does this look nice for like what you're looking for in a toy guide? Awesome. I really did try to come at this at the angle of what do I want to see, hoping that kind of lined up with what most most collectors would want to see. And it gets really tricky when we're talking about things like the vintage line. There's so many variants, right? And we're talking about like country of origin variants, differences in paint for the factories. And I really had to limit myself on how deep I was going to get with that stuff because there's just not enough space, right, to get that deep. So I decided to just talk about like the well-known variants and only focus on those. So I have had a lot of criticism that's like, I wish you would have gotten more into like country of origin and the dates that they were produced, and I really, really wish I could have. I just really had to cut my losses on some of this stuff. So, but I'm pretty happy with how it all came together. Can you go back? There was the page, the Skeletor page that was on there. I want to talk about Skeletor real quick. That one right there. You guys know who this guy is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, Disco Skeletor. If you are not familiar with why he's Disco Skeletor, so this was a weird paint variant that came out towards the end of the 2002 line. It makes no sense. I have no idea why he's gold and with an orange face, with a vac metallized blue torso. It makes zero sense. But this figure is so stupid that he became a cult favorite with the fans. And I specifically remember on the message boards back then, the He-Man.org boards, we started calling him Disco Skeletor as a joke. So he's just called Skeletor on the package. He's always just been called Skeletor. Lately there's been a resurgence of like weird cult-like love for this figure. Like Funko's done some paint variants of him and everything, but he's always just been Skeletor. First of all, this is the first photograph I took for the book. I wanted to have that weird story. Like Disco Skeletor is going to be the first thing I shoot. Second of all, when I turned this into Mattel for approval, okay, because our guidelines were, the name of the figure has to match exactly the way it says it on the package, right? Because this is a licensed book, it's got to be exactly the same. So when I turned this into Mattel, I turned it in with Disco variant, how it says up there. Actually, I think I tried doing like Disco Skeletor or something like that. They came back to me and they said, you can put Disco version. And I was like, I'll take it. Because that means for the first time he's been officially called Disco Skeletor. Yes. So if I could claim to fame to anything, I could be the guy that says, I officially named this guy Disco Skeletor.
Time to boogie, He-Man.
What's that?
Time to boogie, He-Man.
Yeah, time to boogie. I love it. So, all right, we can go ahead and move forward. Past those pages. What is next? I can't even see the screen. Oh, and we got the Q&A part now? Yeah. I think we are at the Q&A part now. So that's basically, in a nutshell, like the process of putting everything together. Obviously, there was a lot of research done as well. We did the photography first, and then I just kind of did my research. Obviously based on the photos, I did a lot of research online. I worked with Adam at Battle Ram blog a lot. I don't know if you guys have ever visited his site, but it's awesome. A lot of knowledge there. He helped me with a lot of information. And basically, anytime I needed help with something, I would just reach out to fans. You know, the entire She-Ra section is actually co-written by Dara, who is a massive She-Ra fan, and I wanted that to be right, so I figured I need a She-Ra person to write about these toys. So a lot of contributors to this book. It's not just me. A lot of fans deserve a lot of credit for this book coming together, and it's something I'm very proud of. So I hope you guys love it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about this or anything else. If anybody's got anything, if not.
I guess not.
Okay, okay, I'll leave it back.
It doesn't deal with the book, but I'm just a random question. Who do you think would win in a wrestling fight? Spencer Powers or Joey Spector?
Joey, Spencer Powers all day, bro. Come on. He's talking about me and 8-Bit Eric wrestling, and I would beat up 8-Bit Eric all day.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I've been trying to have a match with him for a long time. I don't know what's going on. Yeah.
You're gonna have a supplementary book for Origins and for Masterverse.
So I don't have anything to confirm, but the easy answer is yes, of course. Like I said, when we were putting this together, I was kind of thinking I was getting like a full picture book. Like I did not know I don't think any of us knew that they were planning to launch brand new He-Man toy lines. And obviously we've been hit with tons of stuff since I started working on this project with all these new cartoons that are out now, lots of new media, lots of new stuff. So obviously we're in some sort of new resurgence for Masters that I don't think any of us saw coming. But of course, I would love to do a follow-up that covers Masterverse and Origins and the Eternia minis and the Netflix animated line and all the other new stuff that's come out. But I've also toyed with the idea, and I really don't know if I could do this, but I've toyed with the idea of doing like the other toys of Masters of the Universe and talk about things like the Loyal Subjects and the Mondos and the Funko Pops and just anything else related that's not like a Mattel-produced toy, some sort of guidebook, or maybe even if it's not a full guide, just something that talks about that stuff. I also think it'd be really cool to talk about all the merchandise that's been released for He-Man, but there's no way I could do that complete because there's so much of it. But the stuff from the 80s is amazing. Like when you're talking about like land shark soap dishes for the bathtub and stuff like that. I mean, that stuff's amazing, and I would love to document it somehow. So I've had lots of ideas, yes. So I would love to keep going. This was a lot of work, and it's the most stress I've ever experienced in my life, but for some reason, I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep doing more. I would love to do more, yeah. Yeah? I did not. No! I missed Koldar. So the good thing is I've already like found somebody that got an extra that's going to get it for me. But I missed the pre-order, and also Mattel did not do a good job of telling anybody that pre-order was happening. I don't know what that was all about. That was... Yeah, and it's not like, it's not on their Facebook channel, it's not on their Twitter channel, like they just totally dropped the ball.
I've never written on the
weird stuff.
So
you covered this whole experience.
Okay, sure.
What's your experience with bootlegs?
Bootlegs. Yeah, so there's lots of bootlegs for Masters of the Universe. A lot of them are really fun. I like bootleg toys, and obviously you've got a lot of the knockoffs. Technically bootlegs. Like Remco did a bunch of stuff that's very similar to Masters, and a lot of these other lines exist. They're all very cool. So I didn't have any problems like running into bootlegs while I was shooting this stuff. It's pretty easy to tell the bootlegs from the real stuff with He-Man, thankfully. Nothing really passes off by accident. I think bootlegs would be another topic that would be fun to cover, but it'd be one of those things that would be a lot of work, probably. There are some cool bootleg books out there. There's a book out there now called Knockoffs that's just about bootleg toys that Brian from Plaid Stallions did. It's very cool. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, it's definitely worth looking into. It's real fun.
So when you say they're just obviously different, are we talking just their faces look ridiculous?
Oh yeah.
The schemes are out of touch.
Yeah, luckily there haven't been any like bootlegs for Masters that like are good production quality. Like most of the bootlegs for Masters are like you're talking about like the bootlegs from Mexico where they're clearly made from like bad plastic and the paint jobs are real sloppy, or they're blow molds, or Masters gets bootleg a lot in Mexico because Mexico is actually a huge fan base for Masters of the Universe. So most of the bootlegs come out of Mexico, but they are very obviously bootlegs. There's nothing that you have to really worry about with He-Man, thankfully, that you have to worry about mistaking it.
Cool.
Yeah.
What figure, when doing this book, what was the one figure that you're like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this in person?
So there's some cool things that like so Bluebeard Stratos was probably one of the ones that I had never seen in person before. And if you guys don't know, one of the very early original releases of Stratos, one of the early 8-back versions of Stratos, his beard was painted blue. But he is such a small production run, he is probably legitimately one of the rarest figures in the Vintage Masters line. So we had one guy that had that, and that was the first time I had ever seen one in person, and so I got to photograph that, and that was very cool. When we went up to visit Curtis in Canada, we went to him specifically because he had a mint in box Eternia that we wanted to photograph. But he is a big collector of the Leo toys, Masters of the Universe, which if you guys don't know, that's the Indian. Like, India had a license for Masters, but they released them under Leo toys, and a lot of them are painted completely different. That's where Faker's obviously the most well-known Leo figure because he's got like a black bandana on his eyes and he's got an orange havoc staff, so he stands out from the figure we got here. He had an amazing collection of Leo figures. Like, I had never seen that figure in person before, and he had it. But he also had a ton of other stuff I didn't even know existed. And that ended up being my favorite stuff that I learned about, was like the international stuff. And that, again, that could be a whole other like deep dive, right, that you could get into. But that stuff was amazing to me. It was so cool to see it. So that was good. For sure. Yes?
So, He-Man and, Prince
Yep. Adam?
together, we have both of them together, but who would you ship that you wanted at the time to actually be the one that he marries in the future? Who would you ship? Between both of them, all three books.
Who would I don't understand the question.
I think when he's talking about shipping, like, who would you pair with another person?
Yeah, like who did you want He-Man to wind up with?
Oh, who did I want He-Man to end up with? Tila, of
So
course.
you got He-Man and then you got He-Man's that's a regular.
Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, like, Adam and He-Man are the same guy, right? And there was always, they always kind of teased you in the Filmation cartoon that him and Tila were supposed to be together, right? But like, she thought Adam was lazy, but obviously respects He-Man. So that's the dynamic of the whole thing, right? And then in Revelation, she found out it was He-Man. She got super mad and she like hated everybody. And that's definitely one of the parts I didn't like about Revelation. But no, He-Man and Tila. It's got to be He-Man and Tila. That's what feels right to me. I don't know if anybody else has a different ship for them, but that's mine. Definitely He-Man.
That dynamic was on purpose, just so they could avoid the whole like relationship thing?
I don't know, because then they kind of teased it again at the very end. At the very end, they kind of, but I think I understand what they were going for with it. And it's that whole thing where like, you don't know how everybody reacts differently to death, everybody reacts differently to this, and apparently Tila was just very hurt by the fact that everybody hid everything from her. It just felt a little over the top and a little mean, right? That's how it felt to me.
Yeah.
I want to go on the record and say I did not outright hate Revelation. I'm not like, I'm happy for people that like it, I'm happy for people that love it. There was lots of things about it that I didn't love.
I said a lot of mean things about Kevin Smith online.
I don't even think it's Kevin's fault all the way. I mean, I know a lot of people said a lot of mean things about Kevin Smith online.
I just had to get that off my chest.
No, I get it. Yeah, of course.
Part 2 is a lot better than part 1.
I wish they wouldn't have split it. I wish if they would have just released it all at once, I think they could have avoided some of the turmoil, you know what I mean? But I don't know, I think they made the wrong move splitting it. Yeah, right back
So
here.
I guess as long as we're on about the show, what sorts of connections do you have with the producers or voice actors or anyone who works on that kind of thing?
So I've met a lot of people at conventions over the years. That's really what, so I know Ted quite well, and he's one of the writers on Revelation. So that was another reason where I was like, oh, one of my friends actually wrote stuff on this show, so I gotta be, Ted's a great guy, and he's a huge fan. So I was very happy for him to get a job writing, like doing some, like producing something that he loves. And I felt so bad for him that the backlash got as bad as it did. Because that was one of those moments where I was like, that could have been any of us. I could have got that job and everybody could have hated me, for doing something that they didn't agree with. So it's hard, right? Like, obviously, you should be allowed to hate something if you hate it, but like, it's hard. I've met a lot of the voice actors over the years. One of my favorite moments was at a dinner. I got to have dinner with Alan Oppenheimer and Brian Dobson at the same time. Alan Oppenheimer was Skeletor in Filmation. Brian Dobson was Skeletor in the 2002 Mike Young production series. So I had a dinner with two Skeletors. And we had moments where they were talking to each other in their Skeletor voices, and I'm sitting in the middle of them just like, if I die tonight, I'm okay. This is the best thing that's ever happened. But I've got a photo of me and my wife and both of them like all together at the dinner, and it's one of my favorite moments I've ever experienced. It was awesome. It was so cool. Both of them great guys too. Oh yeah, over here.
Have you ever tried like wrestling with like Billy or anything?
Wrestling with Billy? Billy's not actually a trained wrestler.
Like arm wrestling.
Oh, arm wrestling. He probably beat me. I don't have any muscles. Billy's all handsome and stuff. Stupid game chasers.
Yeah.
The live action He-Man movie.
Yeah,
Did
Dolph
they ever
Lundgren?
release toys for that?
So, no, there was never a dedicated line, but the original toy line had a couple characters from that movie. We had Sarad, Blade, and Gwildor were in the original toy line, and they were based on the movie. But then more recently, part of the Masters of the Universe Classics line, when Super 7 was doing them, we got a couple figures. They called it the William Stout Collection because William Stout was the costume designer on the movie. But they released a Langella Skeletor in both the black robes and the Golden God outfit, which is was a dream figure of mine. I was so happy that they finally released that. We got a Dolph Lundgren He-Man, and we got Karg, right? Karg is the only other one that did. Yeah, Karg twice. Yeah, 'cause we got him in comic colors and movie colors, and we got Gwildor and Blade and Sarah. So we do have some figures from the movies now, but they're just within existing toy lines. They didn't get it like its own dedicated toy line, which is really weird.
And do you have any books left?
I do. I have 4 at the table still right now. So if you guys want to come over there, I'd be happy to sell you some books. Yes.
So speaking of your movies, we got another one coming. How hard will you campaign for you to be
Mosquito?
It's not happening.
I wonder how would a mosquito voice sound? I've thought about that before.
Hey guys, it's
Hey guys, I'm Mosquito.
That's all.
It's just me. It's just PixelDan. I bet some people would be real mad about that. I would get so much hate. Could you imagine? Oh my god. Cool. Okay, I'll look back here.
Ever thought about having your own toy line?
No. I mean, yes, but I don't know. I'm enthusiastic about toys. I love the history of toys. I am not a designer, and I've thought of it'd be cool to have my own toy. It'd be cool to have my own figure. I have no idea what I would do that people would care about. I mean, people say that to me all the time. People are like, "How come you don't have your own figure?" And I mean, I guess the simple answer is I don't know how to make one. I don't know what to make that people would actually care about buying. That's kind of my thing.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Get one made of yourself.
U2s? Get one of those little YouTube figure guys? Yeah. Could do that. Yeah.
Has Mattel ever contacted you about any of the current figures? Like, hey, do you have any input about this?
No. They've never done anything like that. I don't think they're allowed to. Technically, they're not allowed to accept outside suggestions. Like that. I have a lot less connection with them than people think I do. Like when they want to promote something, their press people go, "Hey PixelDan, do you want to do a video?" And I'm like, "Yes." And then when they don't want to promote something, they don't care that I exist. I mean, that's kind of the truth of the whole thing.
Yeah, because it feels like they used to give you samples of
Oh, it's different times now. It's different times now, for sure. But that's fine. I mean, I still like this stuff. I'm still going to talk about it no matter what. So, yeah. Yes.
Who are some of your favorite Motu characters?
Some of my favorite characters. Okay, we're going to talk about I guess we'll just, in general, obviously Mosquito is my absolute favorite figure from the original line. But the He-Man is, I mean, he's up there. He's one of my favorites, and the original figure means so much to me. Skeletor is 100% my favorite villain of all time. So take that, Hordak lovers. Skeletor's better. I really like, let's see, some of my, every time I think about my favorite figures, I always think about their toys. I always connect them with the toys, right? So when I'm thinking about some of my other favorites from the original line, Battle Cat is one of them. Battle Cat is one of my favorite figures to collect for the vintage line now, and that's an effect of the book too, by the way. If you guys have ever looked at 3 Battle Cats sitting next to each other, I guarantee you they all have different paint jobs. And that has now become my favorite thing to collect because of it. Every time I'm at a show and I see a Battle Cat, I'm like, how is this one different than one of the ones I have at home? And then I take it home. I love Battle Cat, so he has become one of my absolute favorites. So I would probably say Skeletor, Mosquito, Battle Cat, He-Man. Those are my tops. Yes?
To the variants, and after doing this book, do you think that you'll ever touch back on just doing vintage variants?
I would love to do that. I would definitely need some help with that because I know there's a lot of people that have done great work of documenting that sort of thing online. I actually picked up a book recently. It was sent to me actually by the author. It's just called like Motu Vintage Variants, I think is the name of the book. And it doesn't have a lot of pictures in it. It's basically just text information. But for every figure, he kind of breaks down like country of origin, factories, stuff like that. So I love that sort of information, and I would need to use somebody like that to help me through the process, but I think that would be awesome. I would love to have like a proper book that's got like real photos that shows these differences and really dives into that.
Is that from Ruben?
I follow him on Instagram. He posts a bunch of stuff on variant stuff on there, right? Doesn't
Do you
he?
follow his like he's got a Motu variant site that has a huge
Yes, I do. I do follow that. Yes, absolutely. So he would definitely be the type of person I would need to be involved with something like this because I would want to make sure that it's right or as accurate as possible because the thing I've really known about variants is it's hard to track, right? And you're always learning new things and you're always worried about the data that you have now becoming outdated at some point because we're always finding new things. It's crazy, but I would love to do that. I think it would be awesome to get proper photos and everything so people can see it. It'd be so helpful.
I have variants that, like, I have a Grizzler that his armband doesn't go all the way underneath as a hat.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because you can't see the country of origin because he's covered
Covered in fur?
in fur.
Yeah.
Like, to find out whether he's from Mexico or whether he's from Hong Kong, I had to go through, like all those guys in the variants
Yeah.
on Facebook to say, just get the white-faced peoples, or because
Right.
they all know, and some people didn't know that, there was one that didn't have this armband.
That's amazing. See, that's how deep this stuff goes. It's so interesting.
It is.
It's so cool. Well, that's what keeps collecting fun for me because I used to be the person that was like, I don't really care about the variants that much. I just want one of every figure. But now you get to a point where it's like, that's what keeps it exciting. So now you're like looking for these things. And every time I'm at a show and I find a bit of these figures, I'm always like, you really inspect them to see where they're from, what year they were released, and if it's different, and if you notice any different paint differences. I found a Battle Cat down here in Texas one time that I had never seen before because the inside of his ears were painted orange. And I had never seen one like that before. So I reached out to a bunch of the guys online. I think I reached out to like Curtis and Rodrigo, Matt Hunter, and my buddy Buzzoff, Buzzoff 82. I don't know, he's another variant guy. So I reached out to a bunch of them and I was like, have any of you guys seen this before? And they were all like, nope, but we're gonna ask around, hold on. And they ended up like following their chain and we traced it back and we found out it was a Los Alamos Battle Cat. Yeah, it was a Los Alamos Battle Cat, and that's why he had the paint inside the ears. I had never seen it before, and it was just, he didn't have his armor or anything, it was just the cat, but it was in a bin for like a couple bucks, and I noticed immediately. I was like, I have never seen one with orange ears before, it was so weird. Yeah, so, I don't know, it's exciting, it's exciting. I did, yeah, he's at home. He's in my collection. I have a striped tail Battle Cat too. That's my prized piece, I love that thing.
I've always wondered if people on the assembly line screw stuff up just to mess with
Just to do, like, yeah. Let's see if anybody notices this. Yeah, I know, right?
That's the same energy of a McDonald's worker just putting in extra nuggets.
Yeah. That's so cool. Do you have a question?
What's the screaming?
I don't know. What is the screaming sound? I don't know. I'm sorry.
I think it was someone playing Bury the Light out there.
Are you going to do a TMNT book like that?
Am I going to do a TMNT book?
Yes.
Go ahead and hit the next slide. Oh, hey, what's that? What am I doing in that picture? What is on that table? Go ahead and hit the next slide. Oh. Oh, whoa. Oh, look at those. Next slide, sir. Oh, is that a black belt storage shelf, Raphael? That's weird. Oh, next slide, sir. Boom. I am in the photography stage right now for a TMNT book. I will tell you guys, it is not going to be a complete Turtles book in the way He-Man is, because the original Ninja Turtles line is already bigger than this book for Masters. So, I am going to start with just covering the vintage Turtles line, and we will go from there. I can probably do volumes if it seems like people want more, but this is another of obviously my favorite properties. It's never had a proper book documenting it like this, so I decided why not keep this train going. I'm going to do another one. So, yep, that's where I'm at, and I hopefully I'll have some solid release information for you guys soon. So, yeah. Woo! Yes?
So do you think you'll like the TMNT book more than the Motu book?
Do you think I'll like it more? So the Motu book is always going to be probably the most special to me. It's my favorite brand. It was obviously... there's a lot of things going for the He-Man book, right? Favorite brand, something I've always wanted to do. It was my first published piece. It's officially licensed and published by a major publisher. That's all huge accomplishments for me, and I'm always going to look at that fondly. But it's a good jumping off place to keep this going now, right? Like, I did it, and I proved that I could do it. I proved to myself that I can do it, and I hopefully have released something that people like enough that they'll want to see me do more stuff like this. So this is going to be the test. Let's see if I can keep it going. Let's see if people want to buy a Turtles book. So, yeah, it'll be special for a different reason.
So I was going to ask you if you were going to do one for Thundercats.
Thundercats.
Yeah.
That's another one that needs good coverage. So I've got a list. I have a list, and there's things that I want to write about and talk about because I love toy guides. I collect a lot of toy guides. I love Mark Palomo's stuff is amazing. He was one of the guys whose books I've been buying forever. But I've always noticed that most of the toy guides are kind of covering the same things. It's always Transformers, Star Wars, and G.I. Joe. And there's so many of those books out there. And they're awesome, but there's so many other cool toys out there. And obviously He-Man and Turtles are big ones of mine, but there's like so many other cool things that I've collected over the years, like Kenner Alien and Predator, that I feel like stuff like that needs documented, right? And so I've got a list, and Thundercats gets brought up to me all the time, so I think it's very possible that it'll make the list.
On that list was Biker Mice from Mars.
Biker Mice from Mars, yeah. So that's a good point though, because one of the things I've thought about doing is some sort of book that basically covers all of these smaller, like, they got one wave type of toy lines, right? Like Food Fighters, Computer Warriors. There's so many weirdo toy lines out there that it would be so fun to write about and research and like maybe try to talk to the people that worked on them and stuff like that. But I don't know. Obviously I have a big vision, but this stuff takes a lot of time. So I don't know how many of these I can get out. We'll see what I can do. Yeah, right back here again.
When do you think the TMNT book will be released?
So I really hope it doesn't take me as long as the Motu one did. But I'm hoping, I don't think I can solidly say next year, but I'm hoping at least next year we will be able to do our pre-orders so that we can have it out right after that. That's the hope. I think we were trying to look at like the end of the year next year, but it might bump into the first quarter of the year after. It really depends. We've been shooting so much. There's so much stuff, guys. And talking about variants, oh my God. So the Turtles, a lot of these figures were released, like the exact same figure is released, but with different colored weapons, right? So we gotta like, at least document the fact that, oh, this figure could have come with yellow weapons, or purple weapons, or blue weapons, or green weapons, but it's the same figure, it just comes with these 4 different types of weapons. It's nuts, it's so nuts. But hopefully soon. All the way to the back.
Who is your favorite wrestler?
Who's my favorite wrestler? The Undertaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Favorite since childhood. It's always been my favorite. I almost cried when he retired.
Also, what inspired you to do wrestling?
So I was in high school during the Attitude Era. And it was, if you guys remember that, I mean, it was everywhere. So I was running around telling everybody to suck it all the time. And you know, I was doing backyard wrestling. So I was really, really, really into it at the time. And right after I graduated high school, a couple of buddies of mine had joined a local training facility. And they were like, hey, you should at least just come check it out. So I was like, okay, I'll tag along. And when I tagged along with them, at the time they were looking to train some referees also. So I was like, well, that sounds kind of cool, I'll do that. So I trained to be a referee at first. And then they started putting me in some of the local shows that they were doing around the area, and I started doing referee stuff. As I was doing that, I would start just kind of joining in on practice sometimes. And I would get in the ring and like, you know, they taught me to bump because refs have to learn how to bump too. And then I would start doing some of the drills and it was fun and I was enjoying it and I was picking it up. And they got to a point where they were like, hey, have you thought about like moving over and actually doing this? Because you're picking it up pretty good. And I was enjoying it so much that I decided to, and then that's just kind of what happened. And then I started, for anybody that doesn't know, I've been doing independent pro wrestling for like 20 years. It's crazy. But in the early days, I was doing it like, I was traveling all around Illinois and into Indiana and a little bit into Missouri, and I was working shows like every weekend. It was a really fun time. It was really cool. Yeah. All right, anything? Oh, right here. He-Man video games. There are some He-Man video games. There's not a lot of good ones. So the earliest ones were like the easier to obtain ones. There's a game called The Power of He-Man that was released on both the Intellivision and on Atari 2600. The Intellivision version is the better version of the two. They're the same game, but the Intellivision one is better. Plus it comes with like the cool little inserts for the controller that's got like He-Man on it.
Oh, really?
They're not that expensive. They're pretty easy to track down. But in that game, you fly the Wind Raider and you drop bombs down on like Beastman and stuff as he's running around. And then you get to the end, like Castle Grayskull's there and Skeletor runs into it. And then at the end, it almost looks like Yar's Revenge. You have He-Man running across the screen to try to get to Skeletor to beat him. It's simple, but it's fun.
Do you have any?
I do. I have that game. Yeah. There was a bunch of games on like the Commodore 64. There's like 3 of them. They're computer games. You can emulate those pretty easy. And then in the 2002 era, they did release a Game Boy Advance game here in the US, which is it's okay. It's an okay game. There's a PS2 game, but it was only released in the UK, so it's a PAL region game. So that's it as far as I know, as games for He-Man. He's been terribly shortlisted as far as video games go. Oh yeah, there was a mobile game, right? Tappers of Grayskull? Yeah. Can you even get that still? I think it's gone. I didn't even play it. I tried it like once and I was like, yeah.
Cool. At what point did you decide to make clip in your passion? All that. You knew you were going to do something.
Yeah, it really just kind of happened one day. So I started doing the YouTube thing back in like 2007. And YouTube was brand new back then. And I mean, I have the same story as a lot of the guys here. I started watching The Angry Video Game Nerd. I just stumbled upon him on like MySpace or something, because that was still a thing, right? And I saw his videos and I just thought they were so fun, and I loved that he was like talking about video games and stuff from my childhood. And that's kind of what, gave me the bug to like want to try something. And YouTube was still brand new and it was still very homemade stuff back then. And there wasn't really any toy stuff happening, but I wanted to talk about my collection stuff. And so I started doing like I wanted to do something that kind of tied to the hype of all the video game content that was out there at the time. So I did videos about toys that were based on video games at first, and that was kind of the first thing I started doing, from pixels to plastic. That's why I'm PixelDan, in case anybody was wondering. That's where the name came from. But as I was doing that, like people started watching and it was really fun and I really enjoyed it. And then that's when I was like, well, now I want to talk about my He-Man toys because that's the thing I care about the most. So I did a video called The Many Versions of He-Man, where at the time I just talked about all the He-Man versions that had been released, which wasn't very many at that point. It was very, very small. And that got like a good reception, so I followed up with a Skeletor one. And that was about that time that He-Man.org first reached out to me and they were like, this is really cool, can we put these on the front page of the site? And I was like, well yeah, this is amazing, of course you can. So it got more eyes on it. And then that was about the time that they revealed the King Grayskull figure, which was going to be the new Classics toy line. And I thought that was really cool. So I bought the figure. I got somebody to buy it for me because it was like a San Diego figure, and that was way before I was ever doing anything like this. So somebody bought it for me, and I decided I wanted to do a video talking about it because I was so excited about it, and I did that, and that's when I got an email from Mattel. And this is like, influencers weren't a thing, right? It's not like a common thing, and I know people look down on that sort of thing now, but like, you gotta pick, like me at the time, I'm just a fan, who's talking about this stuff online, and Mattel's emailing me saying, we like what you did. What if we sent you He-Man and Beastman and you do it for them? Of course I'm gonna say yes, right? And it was amazing and it was exciting, and then that just snowballed into all this other stuff that I did not foresee coming. But I mean, it's been so fun, and I'm so grateful for all of it. It's been so cool getting to do this. I've met so many amazing people over the years. It's been really cool. Oh, I got 5 minutes. Okay, it's been awesome. Okay, right back here, kid. What He-Man character do I hate? Let's see. Who should I say? Who's gonna? Or maybe Loki. Maybe. I don't know. A lot of people don't like Gwildor. I kind of like Gwildor. Who don't I like? This is a hard question. You're putting me on the spot here. Wanting me to. I'm really curious. Is it Glimmer? Yeah, I don't like Glimmer. I'm Dan. What's your name? Oh, nice to meet you. You know, it's really hard for me to say somebody that I outright don't like. I mean, I love the cast of this. It's such a weird, like, look, my favorite thing about Masters of the Universe, and maybe this is a good ending point, my favorite thing about it that always drew me to it as a kid is just the insanely colorful cast of characters. Like, when you look at this batch of weirdos on your shelf, like, how cool does that look, seeing a snake guy, and a furry beast guy, and an elephant-headed dude. I mean, it's all so weird, and it totally just, I mean, that carved out my interests for toys from that point forward. That's the stuff that draws me in. I love it. I mean, this brand is awesome. It's the best. Go He-Man. All right, last question right here.
What's your wrestler name?
Spencer Powers. They call me the Spotlight. I'm wrestling Matt Cardona in September. Did you guys see that?
Yeah. Woo, woo.
I'm excited. PixelDan versus Matt
So we
Cardona.
need a match for WWE.
That's right, yeah. Now they're going to make a figure of me. Yeah. There's my figure. There's for the question back there. That's the figure I want. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate all of your support. Great time today. And feel free to come by my table. We can chat some more. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. It was great meeting you guys.
What's the next panel? You know?
Oh, you have the picture on your phone.
I don't. I accidentally transferred to the stick and I deleted it. Let's right outside the door.